Welcome to the Find Creative Expression podcast, conversations about art and creativity. I'm your host, Sarah Crawford, author, musician, and playwright. You can find the show notes and other information at findcreativeexpression.com. And let's get going. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Find Creative Expression podcast. Coming up, I have an interview with my good friend, artist Jessie Gayhart. I had a great time talking to Jessie, so stick around for that. So the main thing I've been focusing on lately is this graphic design class that I've been taking, and I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. So in the class, she goes through Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. I kind of knew a little bit about Photoshop before I started the class, but, I just sort of taught myself how to do everything before, and I definitely wasn't doing everything like the correct way. So it's been really good to learn all the ins and outs of Photoshop and explore features that I didn't really know about before. I got really excited the other day when I learned how to change someone's hair color in a picture. Anyway, so I just finished up the Photoshop section in the class, and I just started the Illustrator section. Other than that, I've been getting my poetry books ready to release on March 23rd. So I'm re-releasing my first two poetry books, Coiled and Swallowed and Driving Downtown to the Show, and then I'm publishing a new collection called Slip Away. I'm going to be selling all three collections in ebook and print, and then I'm going to have an ebook bundle with all three ebooks. And eventually I'm going to do audiobooks, though that might take a little longer. Anyway, so those are the main two things I've got going on right now. As far as work goes, I'm kind of in a transition with my freelance stuff. I've mainly been driving for DoorDash lately, but I just picked up some additional freelance work, so, we'll see how that goes. I'm still doing freelance writing, like web content and, blog posts for businesses, stuff like that. I'm hoping that, eventually after I finish this class, I can kind of pivot to, either freelance graphic design or, potentially even like a job doing graphic design. I mean, the goal eventually is for me to get my business up and running, the, Find Creative Expression with the coaching and the courses and the self-development type books and speaking maybe and things like that. But, you gotta pay your bills in the meantime. So just trying to work everything out. I feel like I'm always in a transitional period of some kind, but, I guess that's another story. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the interview. I am here with Jessie Gayhart. Jessie Gayhart is an artist with a focus on ink drawings in primarily black and white. Her drawings invite the viewer into a gothic fantasy world. Welcome, Jessie.
Wow, that was quite an intro. Thank you so much. I'm really, really flattered to be doing this. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast. I always love just talking about art and creation with various people.
You do. You are quite the creative expressions and evangelical. Is that what you call it?
Yeah. We were talking the other day. I was like, I'm like an artistic evangelical. Like, there's people that go around knocking on your doors being like, you need Jesus, but you need art,
Yeah. Do you have a cup of art that I could spare? Just a bit.
Okay, so how did you get into drawing?
Honestly, looking back, I was an anxious little kid. And so I can remember doodling on just anything that was in front of me when I was in second, third grade. And I remember we had these folders, like manila envelopes that would be given to us like every week, and they contained like something that we vocab or something like that was weekly. Like every Friday we'd get, pop out the envelopes. And I can remember I had created this family of characters, and they looked crazy. Like one of them had like Ziggy Stardust paint, and another one had like kind of more Kiss stuff, just kind of like mimicking the stuff I had already seen.
Cool.
And it was funny. I can remember every week when they'd pass them out, I would age my characters, and I would like, write their age, like, oh, he was 13 last week, now he's real old, he's 16 this week, so he's looking cool, so I'd have to change hair. And like, yeah, I can remember just kind of doing that without really knowing why, always, honestly.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I feel the same way. Like I feel like I was writing like before I even really knew how to write. Like, I would tell stories like to myself. I mean, I feel like I remember doing that always,
Oh God, yeah. I would believe it for you. I mean, it's funny. I hope it's not terrible to tell a story like this, but my dad was talking to me about a friend of his that I guess was kind of a flaky person, somewhat, but came to him one day like super psyched, like, hey, Mike, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an author. I'm going to be a writer. And I don't think my dad said this to him because, of course, it's not the most kind, but it was something that stuck with me. And Dad was like, I couldn't help but think that, you can't decide to be a writer at 40. You either are a writer or you're not. And it was funny when I met you, and you had, a collection of composition notebooks already at 15 that were filled front to back. And I remember that story really resonating in my head of like, yeah, he was right. You either are or you aren't. You can't I'm sure there are people that can improve their craft or get better at writing and stuff like that. But there's a big difference between someone who's just viscerally made for stuff like that. They can't help but do it. It doesn't matter if that's your job or not. I know you'd be filling comp notebooks until your hands stop working. That's just who you are.
Yeah. I mean, I think even people who don't find writing or art, like until later in life, I feel like a part of them was probably always creative or artistic in some way. Maybe it wasn't exactly like writing, but maybe it was, storytelling in some different way, or, just doodling, or, I feel like everybody has like some form of creativity within them. Maybe not. Maybe just all the people I know, but you
are kind of a bug light for the weirdos, aren't you?
Yes. That's one way of putting it.
Yeah, you're like flypaper. We're just drawn into your orbit. But I'll definitely agree, because there are a lot of people that, for whatever reason, maybe societal or, their upbringing, that it wasn't really encouraged for them to express any kind of creative passions and follow that stuff. And it's interesting when you hear these people kind of find their purpose at 40, 50, later on in their life, they'll always note little things in their childhood. Like it's never, you're 100% right. It's never a completely new decision that they just woke up and made. It's generally, I always wanted to, and I finally let myself. That's kind of always the narrative that you hear. So yeah, I definitely agree. And if you look at children, it's 100% true. I mean, every single child is creative. Every last child's creative. I mean, we're humans. That's what we do. We tell stories by campfires. That's, 10,000 years of evolution. They're telling you to, boast and tell these awesome fantasy stories and entertain people. That's what we do for sure.
Right. So when you're drawing, like what is your creative process?
You see, I don't know. My creative process is kind of all over the place. It's weird. The vast majority of the stuff that I make, I get inspired by by other artists, from music to movies to, honestly, even food. I see that as a form of expression and also creativity, inarguably, to see the way that people use food as a science and try and find different ways to sub things and include all these different minutia into what they're doing. But for a creative process, most of the time I'll be listening to music or watching a movie, and you get these flashes in your head. It's almost like, for me, it's music videos. I guess it's my 90s kid showing. But I'll see a scene or something. I'll just hear this incredible part in a song, and the music swells and everything's very lush and dramatic, and I'll see what the music video would have been if I made it. Like one of those. And so most of the time that's kind of the imagery there. And yeah, then I'll try and make it look like what I saw in my head, and then it literally never does. So that's fun.
But that's cool. I mean, maybe it doesn't look exactly how you picture it in your head, but I feel like it probably takes on, a life of a different kind. It's like, I think the cool thing about being a creative person or being an artist, like when you create something, it kind of takes on a life of its own,
Absolutely. And it's kind of like this organic evolution that kind of happens. Not to sound like too pretentious or whatever, but it really genuinely is. It's, I've got this and this idea, and then I start to work it out. And you know what? I hate that. I hate the way that looks. It's terrible. And so I'll curve this way. How's that look? And maybe if I add this, and now I'm kind of going away from my initial theme that kind of inspired me to do this. But at the same time, this other thing that I've made is now just as valid and hopefully just as cool. So yeah, I enjoy stuff like that. I really do.
Right. So, who or what would you say, like, are you influenced by?
Let's see. I think one of the ones that really changed how I looked at art was Basquiat. When I discovered Basquiat, it was one of the first times that I'd really seen street art that wasn't like crappy graffiti on the side of a bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and to see something that was so accessible. And at the same time considered fine art, quote unquote, was really inspiring, where it was like, whoa, I don't have to be formally trained, and I don't have to be capable of photorealism or acrylic paint or any of those other things. I can, make something that's maybe not completely perfect, clean lines. Yeah, none of that stuff matters. And it was kind of like an interesting little moment in my head. It was definitely a little seminal moment for little Jessie to realize that there's no such thing as fine art, that all art is pretty much always relative. I
Right.
tend to think of art as kind of a synonym for expression. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's so challenging for people to define what art is.
Right.
Is because that it more gets into preference for me. I think that's more accurate. It's when people say, come on, that's not art. A lot of people don't get performance art. And, a couple of years ago, the one art piece that was literally a banana duct taped to a, like a canvas, and they
Mm-hmm.
framed it and they just hung it up on the wall. I can't even remember what museum it was. Somebody listening probably will. But yeah, they left it up there. Of course, the banana is browning, like on the wall. It's slowly rotting.
Yeah.
And everybody, and it was a very split down the middle. And of course, I remember reading these articles that were vilifying this as like, is this what we've come to now? This is art. And it's like, yes, it is. Because now we're just talking preference. Do I get it? Would I buy that personally? Hell no, man. I don't want that. But it's not that's my preference, isn't it? That doesn't change the definition of what this is. It is still art. It's expression to someone. I promise you, somebody out there definitely gets it, and it is art to them. Now we're just kind of saying that anything that I don't like isn't art. Well, that's not fair. So
Right.
That's always been my little.
Yeah, I totally agree. Or like, like somebody is probably really inspired by like a One Direction song. And, so like,
Absolutely.
What right do I have to be like, well, that's not real music? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. And I'll say it like this. And I know that I'm probably going to offend some people out there. I hate Frank Zappa. I cannot stand Frank Zappa. My older brother, of course, he's incredible musician. He's taught himself something like 8-9 instruments, completely self-taught. He is a genius, and he loves Frank Zappa. He's he's into that kind of experimental stuff. He loves jazz. He knows all about music theory and why this works and why this doesn't. And man, I don't care. I can't do it. I cannot do Frank Zappa. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But at the same time, that doesn't remove its validity. And specifically, my brother, it's art to him right there. So if I were to say like, Frank Zappa isn't art, it's just experimental weirdness on this. It's like, yeah, not to Josh though. Not to Josh. It's 100% art to him. So really, who gets to define it? That's kind of what you get down to, I guess. And yeah, I'm more of a like live and let live. So like, if you guys dig it and it doesn't hurt anybody, hey, right on, man. Express yourself. You want to use blood to paint, if you'd like to use semen, if you'd like to, all the things that may be kind of taboo or kind of scary and weird as hell, hey, go ahead, man. Am I going to buy it? Absolutely not. I'm not going to buy that. That's vile. Absolutely vile. But yeah, I'm glad it exists.
Yeah. Totally. So you're glad semen art exists. That's basically what I'm getting from that.
Yeah, that was the point of the entire story. I mean, I know Frank Zappa kind of got like looped in there a little bit, and I feel sorry for him. R.I.P. to the homie. But yeah, the real point, the takeaway here is that semen art exists and it's valid, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking the other day about how basically every artist or writer, that I know doesn't ever feel like their work is finished. Like I know whenever I look at, my published work or, when I've actually been sitting in the audience at a production of one of my plays, like I can always think of a ton of things that I could go in and change if I could. So I think at some point as a writer, wow, you just have to like let go and release your work into the world, even if it feels unfinished. So when do drawings feel finished to you?
Oh man, never. Never, ever. Literally never. I haven't ever experienced that yet at 35, about to be 36. I don't know what that's like. I have to force myself to walk away. There have been times where I give art away because I know that if I keep it, then I'm going to keep messing with it until, like the horse that I've drawn just looks like a camel. Like just keep adding things and keep like, you have to walk away. And I have trouble with that. So most of the time, since I can't walk away, I'll make the art walk away. So that's how I've decided to deal with that issue.
That's a good approach. Cause I mean, I was listening to my audiobook of Time After Time, which came out earlier last year. And I was listening to the finished audiobook and I'm like, oh, thanks. But I'm sitting there and listening to it and I'm like, oh, I wish I could just change this scene or like change this phrase. And I'm like, this is like a finished work that, a narrator has like gone in and done, I mean, I feel like people probably, filmmakers, when they're watching their movies, like they probably think that it's like, art probably never feels done.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the most relatable thing ever. You could literally be sitting in the stands or listening to the completed audiobook off of Amazon, still thinking like, man, I don't know if that word fits better than this word. That makes me feel a lot better. Good to know we're all neurotic. That's what I'm taking away from this one.
Yeah. Or, you're watching a play that you wrote and you're like, oh, maybe I can just, text the actor really quick when they're off stage and be like, hey, can you just change this line?
Yeah. I decided that this one's actually, she'd be more sad. Like, seriously? It's opening night. Yeah, but like just play it sad.
So many of your drawings feature references to songs or films. And, a good portion of a lot of things that I write are really just me geeking out about my favorite music. So I understand this. So how do you use your drawings to explore your favorite songs or films?
Most of them is just kind of the impressions that I get. That's
immediately what I thought of.
Yeah, I knew you did too because you're right there with me. You can just edit that out. You'd be all right. So yeah. Most of it is just like the imagery and the impression that I get from it. So like one of my favorite bands on the planet is AFI, Fire Inside, and one of the biggest reasons is because of the imagery and the lyrics. And so when I'm riding in the car listening to it, to get these impressions of what I think those lyrics mean. And that's usually where I'll go from there is like, this is how I took it. And so it's kind of like other people's art inspires mine constantly. That's one of the only ways that I can make art is to be inspired by something like that. Complacently sitting around, even if I'm not listening, if a song pops into my head, that'll do it too. But it's pretty rare that there wouldn't be some kind of a catalyst before I do something. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like I have to make like a playlist for every like book that I'm working on or play or, I mean, it's
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
all seems very connected in my mind. Like, oh, this song is like the story, and it's just all very it all blurs together.
It does, absolutely. That's why one of the things that I hate most in this world is when a musician will explain their lyrics. I hate it. I absolutely hate it because, like Eric Clapton, like once I heard the story behind Layla and who Layla was, that's all I hear now.
Right.
I know who she is. I know what the situation was. And so my impression is gone. I can't have my own impression from this song. I can't be thinking of anything of my dog named Layla that passed away. And, this heart-wrenching screech of Layla, just wanting her back. It could be a million things for me, but now it has a definition.
Right.
And that's something that I strongly dislike. It kind of takes it away for me. So that's one of my favorite things about AFI is that their lead singer doesn't do that ever. And a lot of the fans get frustrated. I don't want to know what you meant. I'm sorry if that's mean, but I don't want to know what you meant. Cause that's what it was for you. And you got to have that. And I'd like to have that. This is what it means for me. It doesn't really matter, I guess, what it was meant to be. I feel like everybody gets to put their own definition on it. And that's kind of one of the things that I do with art is like, this is what I heard and this is what I saw in my head. And this was the impression that I got from those words. And that's another reason I don't really like to explain much about what certain things that I draw are about, because I take that away from other people. And that's not cool. I'd like to everybody to, that's the point of art, is to have some kind of an emotional response. At least it is to me, whatever the art may be, whatever medium.
Right.
That's why I never really understood the whole, the emo genre name. It's almost ended up turning into like this backhanded compliment when people would talk about different emo bands or this and emo. Oh, they're just an emo band. I never really understood it because, of course, emo standing for emotional. Isn't that the point?
Right.
Isn't that literally why we create? Isn't that what music is for? Isn't it supposed to elicit some kind of an emotional response, be it good or bad? Or, indifference is kind of the enemy here. I never thought emotion was. That's why we create.
Right.
So, yeah, if I can give somebody an emotional response, then I did my job. And if you ask me what this piece is about, I will never tell you.
That's cool. I used to say, oh, I was emo before emo was emo.
But like, I can back that up though. You mad where?
But I totally was,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we all were to some extent. We were just like depressed alt kids. They didn't have a word for it yet, but a few more years and we would have totally been emo.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, we've been friends for quite a while. We go way back. And as long as I've known you, I feel like you're always using your creativity as an expression of friendship or love. And, you're always making creative gifts for your husband or your friends. And I remember even in high school, you were always like drawing us little things that would make us laugh or, stuff like that. So how does your creativity help you to express love for people you care about?
Honestly, it's kind of one of the only ways that really feels safe. I get nervous when things get too touchy-feely. I'm not good at expressing emotions. It's one of those strong women things. And so I guess that's kind of the way where it feels allowed, where it's like, hey, I made this for you. I gave you this gift. And that way I don't have to say all the things in my head that I feel about you. How much, if I ever lost your friendship, I'd be devastated. I love you more than words. All those things are a challenge to say, as an adult human in society. It can feel really hard being vulnerable like that. And that was kind of always my way to still make sure it got said, was like you guys get it, right? You get what I'm saying, right? Like it's not just an inside joke to make you smile. It's the fact that I'm trying to make you smile. That's my point here. You get that, right? Okay, cool. Please don't make me say I love you. That was very much my, yeah. Yeah. How can I equate this without having to be extremely uncomfortable here?
But I love that though. I think that's great. Yeah, because I mean I still have like stuff that you drew me in high school. Like, I mean,
No way. Do you really?
oh yeah, I do for sure. I mean, not like I think it's at my parents' house, but like I kept some of that stuff because it made me laugh and it was just really, I don't know. When I look back on high school, like I feel like that was one of the like really cool things about it, being able to be artistic like with my friends or like share that kind of creative expression.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I feel like that was quite a lot of our friendship as well. Not just you and I, but like Kendall, Ashley Hollingsworth, even Bree, and a bunch of ones that I'm probably forgetting too. But like our core group, a lot of our interactions with each other were centered around creativity. When we were making music, or like we'd make drawings for one another, or like Kendall would do those photo collages. She would cut out magazines. Man, she would like, I swear, her magazines, anytime I go over to her house, it looked like they got shot with a shotgun, dude. It was bananas. This girl, she always says she can't draw. She can do stick figures. That's it. But it never stopped her, never slowed her down. Like she just found another medium, another way to still be creative. And man, she was such a eager with it. And they look phenomenal. I think that was always a big part of our friendship and our friend group was creating together and not really knowing why. It was such a pure time. We weren't trying to do it so we could show another person or impress someone or anything at all. It was just creating to create. It was I look back on that really fondly. That was a very pure time, I think. I'd love to look at some of that stuff, man. I bet it's super cringe though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I mean, for those of you listening who don't know, Jessie and I were in a band together when we were 15 called Population 2.
That's right. That's right.
But it was awesome. It was an all-girl band. Like, who else is in an all-girl band at age 15? Like, come on. It's pretty awesome.
We were ahead of our time, honestly. I feel true. Like a lot of our lyrics focused on like social change and injustice. She's laughing because they did not. They were written by 15-year-old girls, and you could tell.
Oh, for sure. Lots of, if email was a thing back then, that's what they probably would have called like 99% of the things I wrote.
Oh, dear God, yes. Oh man, we were like Taylor Swift with less talent.
Exactly. So you do a lot of like creative and crafty projects. Like you made some aprons with really unique designs on them, and you often make decorations, and it seems like you're always doing something creative or artistic. So how does like creativity kind of shape your life?
Oh wow, it's I hate to be like just trite and typical, but I'm going to say it's everything. It just literally is everything. I'm a huge proponent of hobbies. I feel like everybody needs to have some kind of hobby. No judgment on what hobby pulls you or how many hobbies you have to go through before you find one that you're passionate about. But I really don't see a point to life without hobbies. To me, it would just kind of be boiled down to the bare bones of going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home. If that's not something I'm willing to do. It's just, that sounds like soul sucking torture. So for me, it's literally everything I've got. Like I can't wait to come home and draw and be zen and relax and actually be myself. No more customer service voice, no more, TPS reports, none of the bullshit. This is genuine. This is the only place that I can genuinely be me. And, if that ever got taken away, it just doesn't feel worth it. I mean, then it's just this, I don't know. It's just a very vanilla, bland existence to me that is robotic almost.
Yeah.
It feels very robotic.
Yeah. I totally agree. So are there any other like visual mediums like painting, installation art, or sculpture that you would like to explore?
Ooh, I've been I've been trying to learn how to do watercolor over the past like 6-7 months. It is a big challenge for me because it is actually like the absolute antithesis of what I've always done, which is very controlled, very fine lines, very clean lines, boldness, all that kind of stuff. And to go into watercolor, basically from at least what I know so far of watercolor, which is minimal, is that it's you have no control. you have just about no control with watercolor. You have a plan, and then watercolor shits on your plan. It does what it wants. It's been quite an effort for me to try and like relinquish control, because if you remember, like in high school, and I'm still this way, is that I'll start drawing, and I've got my head at a normal range and my arm at a normal range from each other. By the time I'm into it, my nose is an inch from the paper. I'm that close to it. I'm just these fine little details and making sure, okay, this looks off. And I'm very much a control freak when it comes to the art and a perfectionist. Watercolor has been like an extreme struggle to learn because of that fact that you just have no control. You kind of start to do what you envision, and then and then it does what it wants. So you got to figure out how to make that still look like what you intended, or maybe make it look like something else. Now that idea shit the bed, you got to kind of switch up your game. But yeah, that's watercolor is really interesting to me. I like the energy that it has. It's very flowy and very ethereal, and it's got such a good energy to it, and it adds so much. When I nail it on a piece, it's like, oh man, that added so much to it. I can't imagine it without it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed learning watercolor. Sculptures have always really intrigued me. I'm always just eternally impressed by the things that people can do with sculpting, mostly because I've tried it and I'm total trash. So I respect it. What I can't create, I respect that much more. Like, oh my God, like just how, holy crap. So I'd like to do stuff like that, but I do not anticipate that I would be very good at it. but yeah, I'd eventually I'd like to experience it. I was horrible at making pottery. Pottery wheel was not my friend at all. Couldn't do it.
Oh man, I had a flashback of like one of those pottery like fish that we made in like 7th grade art. Do you remember those?
I do. I absolutely do. Yeah. I remember, man, art was my favorite class. Shocking, literally no one that knows me, I know, but like, I remember going in there and it felt like 5 minutes and then the bell would ring, and I was just endlessly frustrated because it takes me forever to finish art. It takes me forever. I work really slowly. The perfectionism in me doesn't let me leave anything alone or leave it, just decent. Like that looks okay. Nope. That will eat my soul. All night long, I think about that line. Trust me, until I go back and fix it. So it takes me a really long time to finish anything at all.
So what are you working on right now?
A couple months ago, I got an idea about art supplies where it was like, I felt kind of limited since I mostly, like you said, work with ink and like black and white with high contrast like that. And I've always really appreciated that look. I feel like it's very striking because, like, come on, even human babies respond to high contrast. That's why all the black and white schemes for children's toys and mobiles over the beds and stuff like that. Humans, respond really well to high contrast. But I did feel kind of limited. Always doing, breaks where the white would come through on something, and that was really my only way to play with stuff. And so I started kind of thinking about other stuff that I could do. And I came up with grocery store bags, like brown paper bags. I thought that'd be kind of fun to paint on and do some art on. So I ran to Aldi and I got like 3 or 4 brown paper bags, 25 cents each. And I started just cutting them up and doodling on them, playing with different paints and stuff like that, and kind of seeing how it would look with the brown breaking through. And, now my white can really, really pop. And what does this do and that do? So that's been really interesting to kind of do studies like that. I don't know if it's any good, but it's been fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds
it's really
cool.
Cheap. Yeah, I recommend it to anybody. You can't afford art supplies? Yeah, go to Aldi. You're good. Just paint on a brown paper bag, man.
25 cents.
You can make it cool if you try. You're damn right.
You can just sit outside of Aldi and wait for somebody who will give you their quarter from the shopping cart.
Exactly. I mean, if you're just real clever, you can full on just grab a paper bag out of somebody's hands, and then you get the paper bag and potentially some good groceries inside. So, do what you got to do for art, guys. Art is not a crime. I'm pretty sure robbery is, but art isn't. So, grain of salt.
That's true. So what, books or TV shows, movies, music, etc. are you really into right now?
Let's see. What did I just recently watch? I rewatched Twin Peaks a bit recently. I really like David Lynch, and like the old Twin Peaks. Went back to the 90s. Been doing that. That was really interesting, just because like the storytelling and the imagery is absolutely singular. I mean, it's Lynch when you're watching Lynch. It's just like Tarantino or anybody else. It's a Tarantino film, mostly from all the blood. But yeah, that's actually something I'm going to get on my old person soapbox real fast and say that I miss that. I definitely miss that about the 90s, is that while objectively Robert Smith, let's keep it real, does not have a technically good singing voice. Like technicality, as far as singing goes, is he an opera star? No, come on, man. Can he do 12 octaves like Mariah Carey? No, he can't. It's not that level of talent. But I'll be damned if you don't hear any song on the radio, whether you know it or not, and you say, wow, that's Robert Smith. You instantly recognize, who it is. And that's something that I really miss. At some point, everybody decided, without my consent, which I'm still mad about, they decided that people should be, or singers rather, should be technically good. I think it was like the American Idol influence and America's Got Talent and things like that. And they want somebody who can hit all those octaves all the way up and has this really incredible, impressive singing voice, which of course I appreciate. It's awesome. It sounds great. They're good at what they do. But the downside to that is that I can't tell one from the next unless I'm watching them. And like they all sound great technically. And in the 90s, it was as if people were more forgiving about technical ability in lieu of kind of like the whole song vibing and working together as one. And yeah, I definitely miss that. You knew when it was Eddie Vedder, you knew when it was Chris Cornell, you knew when it was Robert Smith or Dave Gahan or just about any of them. I don't even know the song, but I know that's Dave Gahan. That's Depeche Mode right there. And just instantly. And now is that, crap, I don't even know. Man, I'm an old, so I couldn't even name like any modern relevant artists for right now. So I'm not even going to try and embarrass myself. I'll just opt out of that one, I think.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, this is gonna be. That's the only thing that was in my head, and I was like, nope, can't do it. You already mentioned Taylor Swift once. You already hit your quota. Don't do it again. Don't bring her up. There's a one Taylor meeting right now. That's it. That's all you get.
I know like some current artists from today, but I feel like most of the ones that I listen to are like the more obscure, like the more indie kind of like beach house and those kind of people.
I've been really impressed with and really happy to see M83 reach as far as they have in the past few years, man. That's been really cool to see. I'm really happy for them. They deserve it.
Oh yeah, I love M83. Obviously, anyone who knows about my books knows that I love M83 because I have 3 books that are named after M83 songs. So I have kind of a big question that I ask everyone. All right. It's okay. Why do you think art is important?
Because without it, it really is just kind of a robotic existence. And for the vast majority, at least of Americans, most of them are retail jobs, customer service jobs, where I know I've already mentioned it, but like being a person who's worked retail and waitressing and stuff like that, my money is based on how I treat you. If I treat you poorly, I won't have an income for very long. And so I've got to act like I'm fine all the time. Sometimes it's disingenuous. Most of the time it's disingenuous. And a lifestyle like that every single day is awful. That's a terrible thing to never feel like you're able to be genuine. And I feel like art is so necessary because if I want to draw a purple cat, I can draw a purple cat. There's no rules there, of course cats aren't purple. Of course there are rules here. You can't have a purple. Yes, here I can. No, when I clock in, I can't have a purple cat.
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking, I can't make weirdo decisions like that, or edits, or just be off the cuff or something strange. I've got to be this person in this box who is just here to assist you, very polite. I don't think any deeper. I'm probably a Barbie doll down there. I'm asexual in all ways. I am just a kind, nice, helpful person. That's it. I'm basically Siri from your iPhone. That's it. That's my job. To have to live an existence like that and never have the genuine expression of yourself is, God, it's devastating. I just, I can't even imagine being so limited and just having to live like that. That just sounds egregious. So yeah, that's why I think art's important. It's really the only place that you can 100% be yourself and come up with just anything. And it's just potential. Anything right. Has potential here. Yeah. So we need potential. That's cool.
Yeah. It's like possibilities are endless,
Yeah, they truly are. And it's kind of like the only avenue where it is. Everything else has limitations and standards, rules, templates, all those things. And this one place, when I sit down with this square of white paper, there's nothing on it. Man, I could put anything on it. I could put dicks on stuff. That's one of my favorites. My friends know it. I put dicks on stuff. It's great. It's hilarious. Dick jokes will always be funny. But yeah, I could do that, or I could draw something incredibly personal and me just bearing my soul and how I've always really felt but never told you. And it could be that. It could be anything. It could be, I don't know, a banana taped to a wall. Whatever, man. Anything I want it to be.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
I made it through the whole podcast without asking you about the dicks that you draw.
I feel like it was probably hard as well. That probably hurt a little bit.
It did
probably stress yourself.
It did. So I'm glad you brought it up. So where can people find you and your work?
I actually have an Instagram page that was recently set up by a very close friend of mine, a very beautiful, incredibly gifted writer friend of mine, who is also a raven-haired songstress that is just too kind for this earth. I'm one of those people that has never really thought that my art was anything special. I know a lot of people feel that way. And the good thing is that I'm really, really lucky to have some incredible supportive friends that push me and push me and push me. And if I didn't, I wouldn't. That's the thing. I know a lot of people are very ambitious, or maybe they, organically find opportunities on their own because they want to share that art with the world. I'm kind of insecure about my art. I feel, I talk shit about my own art constantly, about my style of art. I've had a lot of people tell me that they recognize my style instantly. They know that I've drawn something because it just looks like Jessie. And I appreciate that. But at the same time, I can't help but think yeah, but it also looks like Kirkland brand Tim Burton. It looks like
but you were just talking about how you always know something is David Lynch or Robert Smith, so it's people know when it's Jessie Gayhart,
right? But that's different because it's other people. You see how this goes with me? It's different when it's other people. It's a totally different rules if it applies to me. No, absolutely not. No.
But your art is awesome, and I'm definitely one of those people that's pushy with people, and being hey, share your art. But, I'm not going to apologize for that because your art's awesome and people need to look at it.
Oh, you're far too kind. You really are. I go back, like any artist or creative type, I'm insatiably neurotic. So I go back and forth between wildly flailing between these two extremes of I want people to see this and have that emotional connection that I've gotten from so many other artists, and And logically, I know that if I don't create something, then I'm screwing over somebody else, because just about every single thing I make is inspired by somebody else's art in some way, whether it's a phrase from a song or a movie or imagery that I've seen and I'd like to try and emulate, maybe add some new stuff in there in my own style. There's nothing that I create that isn't helped by another artist that's been brave enough and courageous enough to put their stuff out there for people to down if they down it. And so, yeah, I flail back and forth thinking like, you owe it to other artists to give back what you've taken all these years. Yours could be that for somebody, not that it's great, but just to inspire something else that's great, that they could make because they saw this and they felt some kind of way. And then, they make something else so I go between thinking like, I need to share this, like I need to give back to the art community. I've taken so much to like, this is trash. Nobody would ever be inspired by this garbage. It is essentially toilet paper. Do not share.
Okay. What you just described is like every artist, writer, singer, like everybody goes through that. Oh, everyone.
Oh God, that feels so much better. I appreciate that. I appreciate knowing that. That does make me feel better. See, that's the crazy thing. Is like in my head, I'm not an artist, and an artist is someone else. You know what I mean? Like this is somebody else that's real. What I do is an art. I doodle on some paper. That's not art. These other people are real artists. They're expressing themselves. So it's strange, the limitations I can put on myself. And it's so funny. It still feels strange to be referred to as like an artist, artist Jessie Gayhart. It just sounds so weird, man. Like I didn't go to school for this. I haven't studied all the things they've studied. I don't even know like the absolute basics. I've been lamenting this entire year to my mom, and my dad, that I'm trying to learn the basics of art. And it's frustrating because I'm talking like light sources, shadowing, things like that I never went to art school. I don't have any formal training. And so it can be frustrating when I'm trying to do something for the first time that's actually supposed to be realistic, because most of my stuff is a lot of illustrations. I don't want to say cartoons because that kind of would give like the wrong image in your head. I guess I'd call my stuff more an illustration, but still not realistic stuff at all. I'm not trying to like paint a fruit bowl and make sure the apple has the right shine on the right side. Like, no, man, I never learned any of that stuff. And so it can be frustrating. And that's one of the reasons that I don't really think of myself as an artist. I just draw some stuff on paper when I'm bored, and sometimes people like it. And I don't know if there's a word for that, but I doubt it's artist. So,
well, I mean,
that's where I land.
Imposter syndrome. Like, I feel like we all have that, So, I mean, go back and listen to this podcast. Like everyone I've had on here, I feel like has that same kind of conflict, like to some level or another. Like it's just really? Such a universal thing, with artists, like not really feeling like you're an artist.
That is so comforting.
Yeah. So it's not
truly, that is genuinely comforting.
All right. Well,
I'm very pleased. And if they have any tips on how to get rid of that imposter syndrome, I'd also be open to any tips. Also just open to tips in general. Like if you guys just want to Venmo me, Crawford will go ahead and include it at the end of the podcast.
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. That was great.
Hey man, I'm super flattered to even be here. Really honored amongst the other people that have gotten to come before me.
Okay.
So what do you got going on
right
what
now?
What kind of art are you working on, Crawford?
I do the question asking around here. This is how the podcast works. I had so much fun talking to Jessie, and I hope you guys were entertained by that as well. Definitely check out her Instagram of her drawings. I will link to that on findcreativeexpression.com. Coming up on the next episode, I'm going to be speaking with writer Sarah Fox. Sarah is really cool, so I'm excited to get to talk to them a little bit more about their writing and their process and all that. So definitely tune in for that. If you're enjoying the Find Creative Expression podcast, please, tell your friends. Tell anybody that is also creative, also artistic, that might want to listen to conversations about process and the artist's life. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Find Creative Expression podcast. Please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. You can find me on Instagram at Sarah E. Crawford or youtube.com/Sarah Crawford. Also find me on Patreon at patreon.com/Sarah Crawford to support the podcast for just $1 a month. And that's Sarah, S-A-R-A, without an H. I hope you've been inspired today, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for the next podcast.